I mean, I was told by my film professor, there are films and there are movies. And sometimes you've got to know what you're walking into.
Yeah. See, but I come from a time when movies were films.
Okay, a couple of major announcements here. Number one, I just saw Nora earlier today. Today's Sunday, I saw Nora. Nora was a very good movie. And after Nora, I got some loaded fries from Zaxby's. Loaded fries from Zaxby's, have your toes curling. That's a great combo right there. If you're going to Zaxby's, you're not getting that little combo, loaded fries, chicken, ranch, bacon, you're not doing it right. And also, in addition to us having a great Nora movie come out this weekend, and also me having some great Zaxby's, there was also some Arcane Season 2 Act 1 that dropped on Saturday. Came out Saturday. I saw it Saturday night, and it was good. It was great. It was a great return. Finally back to form here with Arcane. It feels like it's been forever. I just watched the show last month. It felt like I was waiting years, even though I was waiting like a couple weeks. But Arcane Season 2 was everything I could really ask for. I was really wondering and hoping and praying that they can come back to form and be really good in Season 2, and happily they can. I'm so happy Arcane's back and it's just good, and I can't wait to talk about it. And starting off here with the main highlights for this Season 2, before the story, even diving into that, the animation and the music and the voice acting for the show is, as always, incredible. The animation especially, our fight between Jinx and Vi in the first act here was incredible. It was crazy, jaw-droppingly good animation. And for the music, literally every song in Arcane is good. It's actually kind of scary. Every single song in Arcane slaps. Every single one. Whether it's country, whether it's a pop song, it could be an anime song for God's sake, and it's gonna be a banging song. So those two things, as always, the animation and music are always gonna be good and brought to form here, and it's done incredibly well in Arcane Part 2 here. With Season 2 Act 1, it's banging. And now for the story in Act 1 is very good. I'm a big fan of the acts they're doing here, 3 acts across 3 weeks here. Giving a little bit of separation, giving it some time to breathe. This is a very broad story, so I'm pretty happy about it. I know that Netflix's big brand thing with their whole entire Netflix IP thing has always been the ability to binge content. I remember back in the day, back in my day, sound like an old man, when Netflix first came out, their whole appeal and whole thing that really attracted everyone to Netflix was the fact that you can binge content. You don't need to wait anymore. Instead of you being able to watch Gotham week to week over on whatever that network was on, I think it was on Fox or something, you can watch Gotham on TV if you want to, or instead you can wait for Gotham to release on Netflix and watch that full series start to finish and without binging, without any commercials, any breaks in between, which was the real main drawing point for their streaming platform. But in my opinion, I guess narratively, the biggest thing here is that maybe stories are just too big to be released all at once, and it really shouldn't be. It builds hype, it builds anticipation, people are talking about it for longer. Also, if you're talking about finance-wise, you're going to be keeping subscribers for a longer amount of time. So yes, the whole binging thing is cool, but the separate acts thing is a very good thing as well. I'm not sure what's going on over there at Netflix, but I think that they definitely do have everything ready to release, but still, it's a good thing to keep the money rolling in with the people running into Netflix to grab more money, and also it's important to just keep the hype flowing. It's very easy for this thing to get just lost in all the noise with all the great films coming out nowadays and shows coming out as well. But instead, these 3 different acts are going to build a lot of hype up and still keep us very engaged. But enough yapping. As for Act 1, like I said, Act 1 narratively and the story has all been incredible. Really the strongest point of this entire show has been the story and the characters. And this one, Season 2, Act 1, has been no different. Starting off in this Act 1 here, the whole main thing has been really the hunt for Jinx. Jinx, after pretty much doing a 9/11 inside of Piltover, she's on the hunt now. She's the main person on the hunt, on the run, the most wanted person inside of Piltover and also the underbelly. So yes, she's on the run here, and it's definitely very cool seeing the ripple effects that has happened because of Jinx's actions in the end of Season 1, which is a very crazy thing that happened. But seeing how it's affecting, one, the council, then also the underbelly of gangs and mobs has also been a very fun time to see. And in this first episode, and I guess start all of these episodes, it's taking its time really to just develop and have these characters really just react to what happened in the end of Season 1, because it was a very big event that happened. It was about to be just peace, and instead, Jinx decided to just go absolutely crazy. So I'm a big fan of the show, really, I guess, pulling back on all the action set pieces, and instead leaving this first act here to be majority more dialogue heavy at times, and instead have our characters be able to develop, react, also find their footing, find out where the real intentions lie with all the characters. Has been a very fun treat without Act 1. I guess the main big characters here have all been Caitlyn, Jinx, and Vi. Those have been, I guess, our main big 3 characters we've been following throughout this first season, and also diving into Season 2. We see Caitlyn's development here has been one of my favorites for sure. Seeing that Caitlyn is a character who I guess can be very level-headed, but after her mom died in the end of season 1, the character is changing in a way that's very realistic, and it's very interesting to see how Caitlyn's and Vi's relationship is growing, yet also at the same time tearing apart because of what Jinx did. It's very cool. And I talked about it a little bit here in our season 1 Arcane review, when Daenerys in season 8 of Game of Thrones just completely destroyed King's Landing with Drogon, and how that was a very drastic turn for the character, and how it kind of felt a little messy with this. And it's a very, yes, different example, but with Caitlyn's development of her just kind of going a little bit crazy here as well, with the fallout of Jinx and also Vi trying to intervene with that, it does feel like a little bit more realistic to see Caitlyn change from this being a very lighthearted character to being just an absolute, to an extent, warmonger at times. And definitely all also for really good reasons. And it's really cool to see the character also change in front of my eyes to where it's not a surprise. It's not very surprising. It's something that's more so just kind of happening with the world. The world feels like it's definitely evolving and changing as I watch the show, which is also, once again, very engaging for me as just an audience member. So like I said in our season 1 review, the show definitely has a lot of different things that it's trying to do, a lot of different ambitions and narrations and intentions with the show, with different characters, but the main story here has and always been the Jinx and Vi and Caitlyn storyline. All of them kind of merging together is really the main heart of the show. And there's plenty of heart and passion and ambition with the show and all of its characters and stories, but the main thing, the main meat and potatoes and heart of the show is and always will be Jinx and Vi and also Caitlyn. That's really, I guess, the human element in a human show that's filled with a lot of already great characters. So that was great. I mean, seeing just Jinx and Vi also having their insanely, incredibly animated fight scene was just breathtaking to watch. I want to watch it again already. That was so good. But there's also a lot of other things going on with the show, like how we have Ibessa, who was the crazy war lady. There's a lot of characters in this show, a lot of names I kind of forget a lot of the time, but Ibessa's ambition is very cool. That's definitely one of my favorite things I guess seeing as the show is kind of unfolding here. She was a character in season 1 that kind of just popped up. She's a crazy, cool war lady, and she's very cool. But seeing her coming back to Piltover, we never exactly knew why, and she kind of just popped up out of the blue. But it's very cool. In season 2, we're starting to dive into a little bit more of why did she even come back, and just definitely seeing the behind all of the attacks here. She's behind the memorial attack. That's very interesting to know exactly why. What's her motivation for power here in this show? Why did she run from wherever she even came from? And who's here in Piltover trying to attack her and take her down? We don't know, which is very cool. And another reason why this show definitely deserves more acts and definitely needs to be split up just to kind of take in and breathe with all the narrative ambition and just massive story that's growing here. There's a lot happening in the show, and it's definitely worthy to have a little bit of breaks here as we go on. But Ibessa's ambition and Ibessa's story has been just a little bit the most interesting. I'm still very confused as to what's going on with that character, which is a whole lot of fun. I've been very vocal about it before in a lot of movies and shows just because of how a lot of writers and directors love to keep the audience in the light, in the loop of everything, but sometimes the audience doesn't need to know everything about a story. Sometimes we don't even deserve or even, I guess, have the right to know everything about a story, and that's what's happening here. Ibessa is a character in the show we know a lot about here, but at the same time, we know nothing, which is very cool. So happy to see that. That's very cool to see that grow and build up. And the last thing here is Jace and the Hextech corruption. Also, we have a lot of cool stuff with wizardry happening in the show right now. And the main thing I didn't even mention, after the blast, seeing Victor go into this weird kind of Gandalf mode here where he's like a wizard, kind of messiah figure for his people here is very cool as well. That's such a cool like thing of the world just building and growing. Also, the Hextech corruption, seeing the world really does feel alive to an extent as well. That's a whole lot of fun. I love seeing it. That was also another crazily good animated moment, seeing Jace and also Echo and also Heimerdinger being like sucked into the corrupted magic here is just crazy. My mind was melting watching those scenes in this show. Once again, some of the best animation I've seen in my entire life. I'm so happy and blessed to be alive just to watch this show. Has been an absolute treat and I'll treasure it forever. But Victor becoming the wizard has been one of my highest points so far. That's a character that I didn't really care about too much, but his arc in this show and also seeing him, I guess, going into his true League of Legends form as I see some images from the game and also translating that into the show has been just really cool seeing that growth for the character. It's going to be really cool to see where he ends up in the end of the show. I've seen some theories with the show that Victor might be the wizard that Jace saw when he was a little boy, which would be a crazy, cool, paradox, coming-of-age thing. I would love to see that. That would be just insane. My mind would melt if that actually happened, but it's only a theory. We'll just have to find out. I mean, it is a theory, but it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world to see that he can actually bridge space and time and be the wizard that Jace saw when he was a kid, having that full circle moment with the beginning of the show to the end of the show. That would just be just crazy. My mind would blow up if that happened. I can't wait to see it. And also, lastly, to mention with Arcane Act 1 here, we have Warwick, which is a character here who's been in like the last 5 minutes of the show. We've been seeing little hints of him coming in here, and Warwick is going to go crazy in Act 2 or 3. I don't know when it's going to happen, but Warwick is about to be like Thanos in Infinity War and Endgame. He's going to go crazy. Tom Brady mode. He's going to just be an absolute menace to society, and I can't wait for it. Well, that's about it for this little small dispatch for Arcane Act 1 here, and it's very cool. Once again, seeing the show come back here, but also seeing the world just slowly evolve into what we know it now, and seeing it slowly grow. Feels alive, feels incredible, intentions made clear, the ambitions, everything with all the characters, feels and looks incredible, and I can't wait for Act 2. And with my small little tiny complaint for the show that I have, it's not really a complaint, more so just a small little worry, is that the show is just too short to really finish off in this one season. We know, now it's been absolutely confirmed, that Season 2 will be the end of this story here for Arcane. There can be more, as we see in the future, there can be more little spin-offs that they can do. The world is huge of League of Legends, so I'm not really surprised by a potential spin-off, but still, the show feels too short to end off in Season 2 and also be told in, 6 more episodes. The story feels too big. The world feels too big to really wrap up in 6 episodes. I feel like it might be too rushed to be ending this soon. And I'm not saying the show is bad. The show's been very good. It's actually been a whole lot of fun for me to watch so far in Act 1. But still, my biggest fear is that the show might be too short for us to really have a fulfilling end for this world of Arcane. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know right now. I'm not a writer, not a producer. I don't know what's going on in the next 2 acts here. But still, it feels like, the show just maybe like 1 or 2 more seasons for me. But, who knows? We'll see in a second here. And also another thing that's important to note is that a good show knows when to end. We've seen a lot of shows in the previous past here that didn't know when to end. Shows in the past have drawn on for too long or too short, and they've definitely have not been delivering for the audience. But Arcane Season 2 might be different. We'll find out next week. But you know what? Enough about what I thought about Arcane Season 2. What did you think? Is the show good? Is it bad? Do you think the show is just too short to really have a fulfilling end? Tell me, what do you know? What do you think about the show so far? Is Warwick going to go crazy? Also tell me, what do you think? We're going to find out soon here with Act 2 and 3. But for now, that'll do it for today. Just a quick little dispatch, quick small little review. The show's been great. Can't wait to see what happens next. Once again, the show and the story isn't quite done yet, so I don't have a lot to say right now. But, as someone who's not a League fan and someone who's just kind of outside looking in at the lore for the show is really crazy and goes very deep. So I'm excited to see what happens next, and I can't wait for it. But until then, obviously a lot of films coming out in November, as well as shows as well for this entire year have been very banging and very good. In a couple weeks here, we have Gladiator 2. Can't wait for that. I'm actually going to be so hyped to see that film. It's going to be incredible. Can't wait for it. And also, it's fall/Christmas, so there's got to be some more themed episodes around that. But still, last week there was this presidential election, I guess, in the United States. And there's been this film that came out this year called Civil War. Been trending a lot, which I saw, and I can't wait to kind of dive into that film again to see if people are exactly being true to the film's intentions. Civil War is a cautionary tale, but I feel like people are taking it in the wrong light and doing wrong things with it. So I'll talk about that when I get there this week, and I can't wait for that one. But still, until the next time, you can follow us everywhere on Instagram. Twitter has been a little bit of a dumpster fire because of the election, but I try to stay away from politics, but I'll try to, upload on there a little bit more on X, And also TikTok, we're on there as well. But until next time, stay swagged out, stay cool, watch more films, watch more Arcane if you can. And until then, I'll see you boys in the movies.
Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you